Everyone said they heard it from about 20, 30 yards away. They said it sounded like a wooden baseball bat hitting the ball, like that big crack sound.
Coming up, how that single sound stopped this high school athlete's season and changed everything, from surgery to rehab, and the care team that helped make it possible to return to the sport he loves. Good morning, I'm Jessica Lovell, and welcome to the Morning Medical Update. This morning, we are so very excited to join you from the brand new Dulcie Simons Jr. Family Broadcast Studio at Olathe Hospital. Today, we are following the comeback of Gage Coen, a multi-sport athlete at Olathe Northwest whose season came to an abrupt end after a major injury. Here is how he found his way back to the field.
Everyone said they heard it from about 20, 30 yards away. They said it sounded like a wooden baseball bat hitting the ball, like that big crack sound. That's what they described it to me.
17-year-old Gage Coen is talking about the moment his sports career at Olathe Northwest High School took a devastating turn.
I initially thought I just rolled my ankle, and so I picked my leg up to look at my ankle like one would, and I saw my leg at 80 degrees inward.
It was the first summer football practice coming out of sophomore year.
It might have been the last play of the day, so we had 2 or 3 minutes left. I jumped up, my teammate dove right through my leg. My teammates all ran away when they saw it, but say this was my leg, and this is say my middle of my shin right here was like that. I picked it up and I watched it go semi back into place, and that's when I got particularly scared, but it was super obvious what was wrong and that I wasn't doing anything anytime soon.
Gage had broken his tibia and fractured his fibula in 5 places. He was taken by ambulance to a local hospital, where doctors there took one look at Gage and immediately referred him to the University of Kansas Health System and orthopedic surgeon Archie Headings.
They told me they would bend my knee at 90 and put a rod inside my tibia to keep it stabilized and screws to keep that in place, and they ended up putting a plate on the outside part of my calf near the injury to keep my fibula in place. So I have a rod, about 5 screws, and a plate on my right shin.
Surgery was a success.
That's when it all hit me. It was I really have to relearn how to do everything now.
And that's where the real work began.
The way I wanted to go about it and kind of how we did it is just let's hit it as hard as we can, as often as we can, and get back to what I need to be doing.
And that's exactly what Gage, an athletic trainer with the University of Kansas Health System, Stephen Hawkins, did together.
I want you to get up and get it and get ready to throw it. Sounds good?
My thought was the more often I can do it, the quicker the process would go.
Steve is one of several athletic trainers through the health system's youth sports program who works directly at the schools with the students and on the sidelines.
Instead of going 2 or 3, I was getting 4, 5, 6 days a week, and I think that really accelerated the whole recovery process.
But Gage admits building back muscle strength was only part of it.
The mental side of it was definitely the hardest. You're sitting here in a hospital bed thinking that, 12 hours ago I was running, jumping around as a varsity athlete, and now I can't even walk.
But Gage's hard work paid off. He's back to football and his favorite sport, baseball, that awaits this spring.
And we are so glad to be joined by Gage and both his parents this morning, Carrie and Chris. And also joining us is Steve Hawkins, athletic trainer with the University of Kansas Health System. So glad to have everyone here doing well this morning. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Thank
you.
Gage, especially you. How are you doing today?
A lot better.
Good.
Everything's a lot better.
I like to hear that. You're a junior now. How's being an upperclassman treating you? Good?
Yeah, it's just another year of school, really. Just older and more stuff to do.
Older, wiser, feeling better.
Yeah,
I like that.
Definitely better.
I like that. So, Steve, just from a rehab standpoint, how serious is a tib-fib fracture like Gage's, especially in a young athlete?
It's pretty serious. I mean, it's a season-ending injury because the recovery time usually will take a whole season, if not a season and a half, just for recovery and return to function.
Gage, when you think back to that first night at the hospital, what was that first moment when you realized how long the road ahead was really going to be?
Kind of when Dr. Headings was talking the ins and outs of the surgery, how much stuff is going to go in there, how long it was going to take. I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, this is going to take forever. So it felt like, but it was just another 6 months of life, really. It wasn't that bad.
Well, when you're young, 6 months of life is a long time,
Yeah.
right?
It was a long summer.
I bet. I know. From a parent standpoint, you're thinking he hasn't been around long enough to just wipe out 6 months like that. You said the mental side was way harder than the physical. Explain what you mean by that.
It's just mentally taxing. I mean, of course it hurt, but there's nothing worse than watching other people do what the only thing that you want to do right now is just go play. And the only thing that you can't do is that. So that was the big mentally taxing.
You just
part.
felt stuck, I
Yeah.
bet. Just stuck
Yep.
and sitting and waiting. Aside from family, I know you had a big support system with family, but you also had friends and I would imagine teammates by your side.
Yeah, all of them. They were all super supportive. They made the whole process a lot easier. And I don't think it would have gone as smoothly without that family environment we had.
I know these pictures of everybody surrounding you at home and at your bedside. That
Yeah.
must have just really helped with boost your morale.
It was a huge help. I mean, without that, it would have been 10 times harder.
I would imagine.
I'm super grateful.
So Mom, Carrie, take us back to that day. You get this call. I mean, I would imagine you remember what that was like. What was it like seeing your son for the first time after that injury?
Well, I didn't realize how significant it was in the very beginning. Obviously, I got a phone call, and I'm super thankful that I answered the phone because obviously it wasn't a number that I had known, but I had just gotten to work and I got the call, and I remember him saying that Gage had been hurt, and I was like, okay, maybe a rolled ankle, maybe a concussion, like he can't drive. I need to go pick him up from practice. But he ended the conversation with the ambulance is on the way, and I was like, okay.
That's a heart-sinking
Yep,
moment.
it was. And so I ran out of work, and luckily I work very closely to the school, so I was there in about 10 minutes. And when I got there, the ambulance was already there, and I ran across the field, and I remember seeing Mr. Hawkins. And he was like my calming grace, you know, because Gage he's on the ground and he's yelling in pain. And so, you know, once we got him into the ambulance, he gave me a big hug. He was very supportive. And then we went to the first hospital and they said, hey, we can't help him. We're going to have to transfer him to KU. And that's when it was like really setting in, like, this is a big deal. This is serious.
I love hearing that you arrived and Steve was just that
Yep.
calming face in this crowd of chaos, I would imagine. So do you remember that moment when you saw Carrie?
Yeah, I do, and she was pretty frantic. And I said, if she gets frantic and really nervous, I said that's just going to make Gage more nervous, and we need to keep him as calm as we can.
Chris, what was that like when you get this call?
There was a lot of questions. I was unsure how to feel, what to think, and the severity of it. Nobody knew. She didn't know when she called me, but I could hear the distraught in her voice. So we turned around and started heading that direction.
And you and your wife are both former athletes, and neither of you have ever suffered a major injury in either of your careers as athletes, correct? Because you played, what did you play growing up?
Football and baseball. Yep.
And you were a softball player.
Softball, yeah, but never got hurt.
So first big injury with your child.
Yep.
That's
it was
big.
huge. Mm-hmm.
So how did you help him through emotionally? Because he had mentioned this was the biggest part for him.
Yes. Honestly, the first couple of days in the hospital, it was a lot thrown at you. There was several people coming in, coming out, just walking us through the steps, very supportive at KU. And I just met him where he was each day. Like if it was a good day and he was having a, positive attitude, it was great and we were all good. But if he was having an off day, I was just trying to meet him where he was in that moment and support him in that way.
Just rolling with it.
Yep.
So, Steve, when you first started rehab with Gage, what were those top priorities out of the gate?
When he came back to school, like for the first day, and it was even before we started any rehab, we talked about the mental aspect of this, how it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And one of the most important things I told him was that he's going to have good days and he's going to have bad days. And I said, there'll be bad days when it won't be worth fighting you for to try to do rehab, and there'll be bad days when I make you fight through it, which is going to make him a little bit tougher. And I believe through the 90 to 100 times that I saw him, there was only one bad day when I said, go home, it's not worth fighting you. But to see somebody that amount of time, you get to know them very well.
Tell me about the phone call you got from Chris about working with his son after this accident.
It was even before surgery. Chris called me and he said, "Can you do this rehab?" And I said, "I've done a couple." I said, "But I don't have any issues doing it as long as it's okay with the orthopedic." And he goes, "Good, that's what we want to do then." And that was all that was said. It was a 2-minute conversation and that was it. And I could tell he was under a little stress and he needed an answer. And I was glad to provide that.
And you're an athletic trainer that works with the health system as Dan's post at one of our high schools, which is such a phenomenal program. How does working with athletes inside their own school, right there with them, how does that impact their recovery?
I think it impacts it most positively. One, it keeps them in school. They don't have to miss school to go somewhere else to get their rehab done. It saves parents money. And it keeps them around a good support system of not only myself, but of coaches and of their friends. And I can remember Gage telling me his first goal was he wanted to be able to walk by the first day of school. So we started the 1st of July, and I told him, I said, this was a good time to get hurt because we spent a lot of one-on-one time all of July and the first couple of weeks of August. He didn't make the first day of school walking without crutches, but by the second day he was good to go, so we only missed it by 1 day. 6-7 weeks that we had initially to start with.
So Gage, were there any setbacks during this rehab? And how did you handle them?
None that I can think of. It was pretty smooth sailing. I mean, everything went pretty according to plan, and I thought that it went a lot faster than it was even supposed to. So I was pretty happy with how everything worked out.
So Chris, was there ever a point where you were worried that Gage was pushing himself too much, or were you like, let him do his thing?
Oh, I like to let him do his thing. He's a hard worker. He'll push himself right up to the line and knows when to back off, knows how to trust his body. So I think he did a good job.
So Steve, how do you make sure an athlete doesn't push themselves too much?
Since he was coming in every day, we would talk every day. How's it going today? What's hard? What's getting easier? And talking with other coaches. Some days he was going in and lifting upper body, and then he would come in and we'd see me and we'd work on his lower body. So there's a lot of different avenues that I checked on. The coaches provided a lot of valuable information because I didn't see him all the time, but I saw him a lot. But I would check with coaches. I'd even check with teachers. How's he doing in class? Is he getting to class on time? Not taking advantage of the situation.
Well, be sure to ask your questions. Use the chat on YouTube or Facebook. You can also email the Medical News Network. That information is there on your screen. Gage, what was the biggest milestone in rehab that made you feel like you're turning that corner and you're ready and you're making that comeback?
So when I was little, we were given the option between a trampoline or a pool in our backyard. And me and my brother, we were younger, we obviously chose the pool. That was the coolest thing in the world. So it was about halfway through the summer. We were approaching school, but I still had a little bit of time left. And I finally got in the pool and had my foot on the ground in the water. And I got to walk around a little bit, and I was like, wow, this feels great. Like, I've never been so grateful to walk, but it was huge for my mental side of things, and it really made me feel good about what everything was going on.
Like the gratitude for the little things that you had maybe taken for granted before.
Yeah, you never thought that not being able to walk would be a big deal until you don't have to do it. I mean, it's one of those deals.
One of those deals. So Steve, how do you help athletes rebuild confidence and not just strength?
I put them in certain situations, like sports-specific situations during the rehab. I mean, toward the end of Gage's rehab, I was working with another athlete on a throwing program, so I would take them both into the gym. Gage would get down in a catcher's position, and the other kid would throw to him. And I think that helped him gain a lot of confidence in his ability to return to a catching position in baseball.
So Gage, Dr. Headings clears you to go back to your sports. Were there any nerves when you were ready to play again and get back out on the field?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I'm not a particularly nervous person. I don't get worked up about a lot of things, and I was just excited. I mean, I finally got to do what I've been wanting this whole time, and it was really exciting.
Carrie, did you share in the excitement?
I trust him. He was super excited. He was ready to go. He didn't have enough practices to do football to actually play in a game, and so that was kind of my saving grace. This next time when football season rolls around with a game, that could be a different story. We'll see how it goes.
Chris, was it exciting to see him back?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I bet.
Yep. Seeing what he loves to do, and what he enjoys spending his time with. So it was good.
Good. Steve, how important is strength and conditioning in young athletes before and after an injury?
It's very important. You know, if they become too strong on one side, it's gonna alter what they do in sports. So you've got to kind of balance out both parts of the body. So both legs need to be about equal.
What advice do you have for parents to get their kids to really take that part seriously, the conditioning, just from a young age?
You have to tell them that the chance of re-injury is very high, that they'll at some point come back and see me again for the same injury if they don't do a complete rehab.
And do you ever see athletes return to or maybe even exceed their previous level after an injury like this?
Yeah, I think Gage is going to. You know, I've worked with some ACLs in the past, lower extremity injuries. I saw one kid have a lower extremity injury in the fall, and by the end of December, was going to a pitching camp in Florida and eventually got drafted by the Dodgers.
Well, that's what we like to hear, right? Gage, what would you tell another high school athlete facing a serious injury right now? What advice do you have for them?
Just try to stay positive. I mean, if you keep dwelling on all the bad things that keep happening, because it's going to be hard, right? It's only going to get worse. It's only going to feel harder. If you can keep yourself positive and keep looking forward to the next big milestone, the next big goal that you have, I think it makes it a lot easier. And I think it really builds a lot of mental fortitude. Just like all of a sudden that this really hard thing seems easy because I went through all of that. And I think it helps a lot.
Chris, this is a really scary time for your family. During this time, what made you feel like Gage was really in the right place, getting the best care?
So when he first showed up to Olathe, they took one look and suggested that we either go to Children's Mercy or KU Med. I've been a contractor down at KU Med at the main campus for the last 10 years, and I've seen the things that come in and out of there, and the quality of care that they give, and just the specialties that everybody does down there, and it was a no-brainer. I mean, and I could go to work and still see him. So
perfect. Yeah, one-stop shopping, right? Yeah. Well, we want to get to some questions and comments from our viewers this morning, and Mike has one for Gage. When you were going through rehab, and on maybe just that one day, I think that Steve mentioned that you weren't feeling it. How did you stay motivated on the days that maybe you didn't feel like going in?
I mean, I'm an athlete. I work out a lot, and for a while that was the big deal. It's like I finally felt productive. Like I finally was working out a little bit and getting stuff done, and that was at the end of it. You feel a lot better. It's like, wow, I got better today, and that was a big deal for me.
Melissa wants to know, Gage, how you got hurt. Can you explain what happened during that practice?
So we were playing 7-on-7 football, and I'm going up to intercept this pass, and my teammate, he's the other corner, he's coming across and he dives to the same ball that I'm going for, and he didn't see me, and his shoulder comes through my leg. And so my cleat stayed in the ground, and the rest of me went, and his shoulder broke my leg. I mean, it's
just like that.
Just like that.
Well, and Jean has a question. Steve, maybe you can answer. How unusual is such a difficult break from one hit?
What we call the mechanism of injury, I mean, that was just an injury waiting to happen the way it did. I mean, there was no way that was not going to be a break. So it's just the way that happened, and the other guy rolled into Gage's leg. That was going to be the outcome, was a tib-fib fracture.
And Trevor wants to know, are you seeing more serious injuries like this in high school athletes these days?
Some years you see these, some years you don't. This year during football season, we had 9 major fractures during the season, and 8 of those kids came back and played this year. So sometimes you see them during the fall or through the school year, some years you don't. It just depends what happens.
What sports are you seeing more injuries in?
Oh, definitely football.
Definitely football.
Just because of the contact.
Yeah. Maria is asking, Carrie, what advice would you give other parents whose child is facing a long recovery from an injury?
Honestly, I am just so thankful for all the family and friends. Lean on them, and I'm so thankful for Hawkins being there. He was there from the very beginning. So just lean into your family and friends during the hard times. I know his support system was huge for him.
Carl wants to know, is weight training the best conditioning you can do?
It's one of the conditioning aspects that you can do. I mean, there's CrossFit, there is swimming, and somebody like Gage, we encouraged him to be able to try to swim because it was not only going to help his upper body, it was going to help his cardiovascular system once he got back into sports and not being so out of shape after not doing anything. I mean, just him walking on crutches and the transition from wheelchair to crutches was kind of taxing on him because that's all he had done for 6 weeks is just sit at home.
Diana wants to know, Carrie or Chris, did you ever second guess whether you wanted Gage to go back to football? Be honest.
It wasn't for me.
Okay.
I was leaning on him, and I thought he would second guess it. I thought he would be fearful, but he didn't. He was excited and ready.
Did you guys have a family conversation about this, Chris? Just what was the next step? And
We did. We asked if he wanted to continue to play, and it was a very quick, short answer, yes. He was hoping that if they made a deep playoff run, which they did, that he would be able to get back on the field, and wasn't quite ready. So, but he's ready now, so he's good.
That's when you reached out to Steve, and it's like, what are the next steps? How do we make that happen?
Yeah.
Okay, I like this one. Derek wants to know, Gage, did watching your team from the sidelines, did it change the way you looked at the game?
I don't know if it changed the way I looked at the game. I still view it very similarly, but this season, without playing, was by far the most fun I've ever had. I mean, I didn't play a single snap. We went all the way to state championship game, and it was a blast. Like, I had so much fun just watching some of my best friends go out and have super successful seasons, and it was a great time. We were all super close, and it was by far one of the most exciting 2-3 month time periods of my life.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
right?
It was amazing.
So Becca wants to know, what are your plans after high school? Do you want to play somewhere?
I would like to play college baseball somewhere. We'll see where that goes. It needs to be the right opportunity. I don't want to go across the country and pay a bunch of money to play baseball. But if that doesn't work out, this injury really encouraged me to want to go into physical therapy. Like, I'd love to go be a physical therapist and help out other young athletes make recoveries and get back to sport.
Well, that leads me to my next question, because Katie wants to know, how has going through this experience changed your goals? So that kind of answered that.
Yeah,
You'd like to help others.
Yeah, I'd absolutely like to help others. I mean, Mr. Hawkins here absolutely instilled that in me. It's just helping other people was something I'd like to do, and if it's something that I can relate to as well as I did this, I think it'd be really helpful.
Fantastic. Steve, what do you want the big takeaway from this story to be? What do you want people to know?
It kind of goes along with the theme of for National Athletic Trainers Month, and the theme or the slogan for the month is care you can count on. I mean, we're always there for the athletes and the athletes only, and we want to put them back out on the field safely, whether there's pressure from parents to get the kid back out on the field or pressure from other places, but it's care you can count on. So that's kind of how I gauge things, is to put the people back, or put the athletes back out onto the field safely, no matter what it takes.
And for those who don't understand what the youth athlete program does for young athletes at the school districts around the area, explain what you do.
I'm in at school every day at 11 o'clock. Kids come down and see me during their lunch periods. Sometimes they bring their lunch with them. I have microwaves that they can heat their food up so they can stay in the training room and get treated during lunch. And if I need be, I can treat also after school prior to them going out to practice, and then of an afternoon go out and observe practices and cover the different sports throughout the year.
The games, so you're there, very hands-on.
Yes, very
You have a close eye on those kids.
Yes,
and then you develop relationships with the parents,
sure.
which is...
Yeah, I tell parents, I said, I hope I never see you during the year. That means their kid has never been hurt.
Exactly. Carrie, how proud have you been just watching Gage go through this experience?
So proud. Again, it's just his mental it was all mental there for a long time, and he definitely went beyond what I expected. I thought it was going to be hard, and it was hard, but it was, his head was in the right place the whole time, so it felt good.
Chris, what do you want the big takeaway from your family's story and this experience to be?
Oh, it doesn't last forever. So I know when he finally got back to moving and lifting, and it kind of seemed like we went through these 2-week increments where, you know, this certain thing is really hard, and then, you know, he's kind of conquered it and moved on, and then it just restarts. So like my wife said, that we had a conversation in the beginning that the biggest takeaway can be from this, that you gain some mental toughness, and he didn't really have a choice. So
I love that. Gage, what's the big takeaway from your story?
Take something away from it. I mean, I think there's no such thing as a coincidence, in my opinion, and I think that you should be able to take anything away from any situation. I mean, I'm definitely a lot mentally tougher and probably physically tougher now, so I think there's a positive thing to take away from anything, even if it's as negative as something like this was initially.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. Such a pleasure to meet you and your parents now, so thank you. And Steve, always great to have you and your insight. So thanks to all of our guests for being with us. Thanks to our viewers for being with us today. Coming up on Monday, the pain of sickle cell disease. Ian Wildheit lived with it for decades. Thanks to gene editing, his life is about to change.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and open mics with Dr. Stites podcasts. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.